All right, class, we are on page 3 in our notebook. We used one of our consonant rules 2 different times in today's spelling lesson, so I thought it would be a good time for us to write that rule in and to also quickly review our consonants. So if we know our vowels, what are our vowels? Good, A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y. Then we know everything else is going to be a consonant. All right, so let's write our consonants in. We'll start with the first one, that's our B. All right, make sure you started at the correct spot. Say it while you write it. Good, B. All right, the next one is K, S. Write that, say it while you write it. Good, what did you write, class? Good, K, S. All right, next is D. Where do I start D? Good, over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. Good. Write that in, say it while you write it. Good, D. All right, what's next? Good, well, we know E is a vowel, so we'll skip that, and next is F. So write F and say it while you write it. Good. All right, next is G, J. Write G, J, and say it while you write it. All right, class, what did you just write? Good, G, J. All right. Next is H. Class, what are you going to write? Good. H. Write it and say it while you write it. Good. All right. Our next letter is a vowel. So the next one after that is going to be J. All right. Write J and say it while you write it. Good. Make sure that one curves back towards the margin. Good. J. All right. Next is K. What are you going to write, class? Good. K. Say it while you write it. All right, what's next? Good, ol. Write that and say it while you write it. Ol. All right, next is Right, All right, Remember for my lips are together. The next one, you'll notice my lips aren't together. All right, write Class, what did you write? Good. All right. When we're going through our alphabet, the next letter is O, but that's a vowel. All right, so the next one is going to be P. Make sure you start that close to the margin at the dotted line so it goes the right direction, and say it while you write it. Class, what did you write? Good. P. All right, next is Qua. Sorry, I have to break the habit. Qua. All right, do I need just one letter for Qua? Good, you're right, I don't. So go ahead and write Qua, 2 letters. All right, this is our Qua. All right, next is R. What are you going to write? Good, R. Say it while you write it. R. right, next is s, z. What are you going to write? Good. S, z. S, z. Make sure you start that at 2 on the clock too, so you write it correctly. Next is t. What are you going to write? Good. T. All right, next is v. V, right? V. All right, next is w. Write it. W. All right, next is x. Write that. X. All right, the next one we're going to write is y, I-E. But which of its sounds is a consonant sound? Can you show me? Good, just its first sound. So when we're writing it up here, we know the only consonant sound is y. The rest of its sounds are vowel sounds. All right, and our last one is z. Good, write it and say it while you write it. So it's good for us to go back and review our consonants. I know some of us know them, some of us are still working on it. But I wanted us to come here because we have a consonant rule that we were using in 2 of our words today, actually 3. And it's our C rule. Can you say the rule about that for me? Good, it's C followed by E, I, or Y, says S. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and write that rule on the line. We put our C in the box and now we're gonna write followed by E, I, or Y. Followed by E, E, I, or Y. C followed by E, I, or Y says S. And so to make that last sound, we're going to put a K with a little 2 on top of it. C followed by E, I, or Y says S. All right, nice job on that page, class. All right, actually, before we leave this page, let's go and mark in. Remember, almost all of our consonants just have one sound. So we want to go in and mark in our consonants that have more than one sound. What's the first one? Good, it's the one we were just talking about the rule for. All right, the next consonant that has more than one sound as we're going through, tell me when you see it. Good, G, J. So we're going to put a little dot next to that one. If you have a colored pencil, you can feel free to do it in a different color. And then our last consonant that has more than one sound is what? Good, S, Z. All right, so those are our only consonants that have more than one sound. And we know that we have rules about these two. And then there's part of a rule about, or there's a rule about this too that we'll do later on. All right, so these are our consonants. Quickly, we're going to go ahead and turn to the next page. So we're on 3 now. Get to page 5. Give me a thumbs up when you're there. All right, we're on page 5 at the top. It says multi-letter vowel patterns. So that means when we have more than one letter, right, and it's making a vowel sound. So we're going to put a couple phonograms on here and some words that we've learned using them. So at the very top, the very first line over here on the left, I want you to write E-double-E. Always says E. Go ahead and write that. All right, class, what did you write up here? Good. E-double-E always says E. All right, now let's write a word that we learned last week. It's the word feel, right? We remember, or we might remember, we use our E-double-E in it. All right, so what are we going to write to spell feel? Good. E-O, and which E is it? Good. E-double-E, always says E. Write it on the line next to that phonogram. All right, class, put your finger under the first phonogram in the word you just wrote. What do I need to write to spell it? Good. Good. E, which E? Excellent. E-double-E, always says E. And O. Good. And what do I need to do to this? Excellent. Underline it. All right. So I wanted us to put that up there because we learned that word last week. Now we're going to go ahead and skip these next two lines for right now. So the next two lines you'll skip. We're going to come down to this fourth line where we've got two different spaces. That must mean our phonogram has two sounds. All right, so right here on the same line as the two spaces, you're going to write oo, or. Class, what are you going to write there? Good. Oo, or. Write it and say it while you write it. All right, class, what did you write here? Good. Oo, or. Oo, or. Remember, if you're not sure, you can always do it on your practice paper first and then check. Well, we did a word today with oo, or in it. What was that word? Good, look. Oh, but it's not saying its first sound in there, it's saying its second sound. So we're going to go over to the second line to write that word in. All right. And before we write it, which k do we use in look? Good, line letter k. So write it. Say the sounds while you write it. All right, put your finger under that first phonogram in the word you just wrote. What does it say? Good. O. Or. Which or? Good. Oo, or. Well, what's next? Good. K. And which k is it? Good. Line letter k. All right, class, how am I going to mark this? Good, I need to underline it. What else? Oo, or. Good. All right, well, that is all for this page of the notebook for right now. I'll see you in the next lesson.